Hello and welcome to DDOcast episode 275, recorded live on Monday, March 25th, 2013. I'm your host, Siegfried Trent. With me is lovely wife and producer Ann Trent. Hi, darling.
Hey, everybody. How's it going?
And, of course, from DDO Gamer, we have Jeff Hanna. Greetings, sir.
Hey, DDO World. Good evening.
Good evening.
As you may know, live shows are recorded usually on Sunday around 4 p.m. Pacific time. You can listen live or hang out in the chat room if you like through G Plus Hangouts or on the website at DDOcast.com live. You can watch the recorded shows on YouTube or listen to them on iTunes. And we post showtimes, updates, and such on Facebook, Twitter, G Plus, and so forth, and on our website. If you want to be a part of the show, you can call 707-DDOcast or email us at DDOcast@gmail.com. It's a good way to get a hold of us. We're always looking for guests, segments, news, opinions, and topics of interest. On the podcast this week, speaking of topics of interest, we're going to have the usual game news. We're also going to, at the end of the show, have a PAX report from the Turbine Fan Appreciation Party at PAX East. So stay tuned for that. We'll kind of finish out the show with that. But in the meantime, we're going to talk about other things. We'll talk about DDO Player Councils. What is that? With DDO Gamer. And we'll talk about Neverwinter and the Update 17 and what we think of it and that sort of thing. So stick with us, and here we go. As you may know, Update 17 Patch 1 is out on the live servers. You got your daily dice, you got your shard exchange, you got your new collectible turn-ins, and the Fall of Truth is a little bit harder than it was before. And not much else in there. There's some bug fixes and things like that. So, I don't know. Shamgar sent us in some opinions, so I thought we would all opine on our experiences so far with these things, but we'll lead with Shamgar here. On the daily dice, he says, rewards so far equals unimpressive. But hey, they're free. But if you ever click on that, it's going to cost you shards. So there should be a confirmation check of some kind. It's an extra click, but nothing seems underhanded and dirty. Astral shards are being marketed as currency now. Let's confirm spending money like that. So he's saying when you open up that interface, basically it's kind of a big screen, and it'll say, hey, you can do the silver draw or you can do the gold draw, and then you just click roll, boom, and it rolls. It tells you how many astral shards it's going to cost you, but the interface is nothing more than just clicking on the roll button. And if you roll when it shows astral shards, you will lose astral shards, and you could just spend them all clicking away on your silver button and getting whatever it is you get. I did roll a 100, I think on roll number 3 or something like that, and I got like a lesser experience point potion, which for free, hey, I'm pretty happy to get. But most of the stuff I get, I don't know, I'll get some Slayer Boost potions and some crafting ingredients and stuff like that.
I haven't rolled up above a 50. I'm quite jealous.
Yeah, and it's not been doing well. I've been rolling real high on that thing, so so
I've got plat.
And
of course... Yeah, well, and of course, you know, the Blade of the Dark Six. But Ooh. Other than that, I'm mainly plat.
Yeah, so, I mean, you know, yeah, for free, I think it's great. I would never intentionally spend shards clicking on it. And I agree, the interface is a little too easy to you're like, hey, what do I do with the screen? Click. Oh, I spent some shards. It's not very many, but, you know, easy to do. Also, I couldn't find the close button. There is a little X in the upper right corner, but it's sort of the way the texture of the screen is, and doesn't really have window bars. It's a little hard to see the thing, so I was just pressing escape to make it go away. So I don't know, kind of cool. I like the little. Go ahead.
I think the way the number of shards you're spending is kind of obscured by the word roll. I think that is universally disliked. I don't think anybody has stood up in defense of that choice.
No, not really. Well, maybe there's a marketing person somewhere going, well, yeah. Well, duh. But I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm sure there was probably somewhere. I mean, I'm guessing. I know the design meetings go. There was somebody saying, yes, we want to make it very easy. Anything that gets in the way of making it easy to click that and roll is bad. And somebody else was like, look, people are not going to, you know. So marketing people probably won that debate.
It's not like the one-arm bandito anymore where you have to actually pull it all the way down. You have to one simple click and bam, your money is gone.
That's how the slot machines work too.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like just, and you can even set them up to push. All you have to do is push a button, right? Mm-hmm. But in some of the new ones, you can have it push the button for you. Now you're just they're watching your money go away. You're not involved at all.
So bizarre.
Oh, that's tricky.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. We've got the Astral Shard Exchange Auction House. Let's see. Shamgar says, it's pretty amusing to see what people think their gear is worth. Granted, only the economist majors can tell you what the conversion rate between plat and the astral shard and dollars are, but for some of those prices are just silly. Also, go buy my stuff for ridiculous prices in astral shards so I can accidentally spend them on the DDO dice so that I can buy other gear at inflated prices. Yeah. I did not sell anything. I put something up for auction. I kind of felt like there was no point in putting anything up for auction less than like 15 because they're going to take 5 for a posting fee. This is for a bound to character item, and then take half of whatever you posted it for. So that would leave me with like 1 shard if I did it at 10. So I'm like, 15 is the minimum I'm willing to put something up for.
If you put an item up for 1 shard, you're just losing out.
Right, yeah, and I don't even know if you can.
Yeah, you can't. Yeah, you can't do that. The default minimum is like 3.
Yeah.
3.
Right.
Leaving you with 1.
Yeah,
One
I think.
shard.
Yeah, I think you can easily get 1 shard back. Well, it's 3 if it's not bound to character. If it's bound to character, I think the minimum's 5 because that's the posting fee. So, yeah, but I don't know. It just seemed to me like anything above 10 for an unbound or 15 is just kind of like, I don't know. Maybe you just want to give stuff away and that's great, but yeah, otherwise not so much. I don't know. I posted something. I did buy something. There were 20 epic white dragon scales for 30 shards, and I happen to have 40 from
That's a deal.
crunching astral diamonds. I thought that was pretty good. I'm like, hey,
Yeah, that
that's
is good.
most of what I need to make epic dragon
Someone
armor.
who wasn't smart enough, because I wish I was there on the first day with enough astral shards, because man, they're too expensive now.
Well, if you get like 2 or 3 per time, that's what 10 runs of that, and if you run it all the time, I guess maybe you got those things flowing like wine. But yeah, no, it seemed like a good deal to me, so I jumped on that. I was just looking. I want to spend my shards on something, and I thought that, oh, hey, that's something I like.
Yeah, that's not bad. I have a couple of bids in. I wrote a post about this, so I'm jumping ahead, I guess, a little bit. But I have a couple of bids in just to see if I get lucky for 3 or 4 shards on something that I'm interested in. I think, though, that most people, when they were making a mistake in posting it, wasn't in undervaluing.
No.
There's just some humongous overvalues in there.
Yeah, well, that's
What are
definitely
the
what he's
prices
saying.
on
Yeah.
your server? Tell me, what are the prices?
Well, the only one I wrote down is just because it's so egregious. Is right now there's an Epic Elite, which is nice. Shamanic Fetish. This is a nice item. Okay, 2,500 shards, which according to my rough calculation is $150.
Yeah,
So,
that's crazy.
$150. No way.
I don't think so. I did sell something though.
Oh, yeah?
I actually did. Oh yeah, I
What'd you
put up
sell?
about.
What'd you sell?
I used up all of my shards in posting fees in a variety of silly things to see what would sell and wouldn't. And the one thing that sold was a Cape of the Rock for about 9 shards I got.
That's a decent price.
Yeah, and actually it's a pretty cool item, right? I mean, because it's got a slot in it now, so you can have permanent featherfall, and you
so
can put
actually
your
went back
charisma
and got
on
a
it.
new one. Okay.
Yeah,
That was a
you
new
can
one.
put-
Okay.
So
Yeah.
for a mid-level character, that's permanent featherfall is kind of a cool thing to have, as long as you're not devoting a slot to it, and you're not anymore. Now you can put dex in it or whatever you want. So
Yeah, I hear some things are selling pretty briskly on there, like the items that come out of some of the new quests, and the chain reward ones sell pretty well on there, stuff like that. So
Yeah. I'm waiting for my seals and shards for epic crafting.
oh
Yeah.
yeah, that'd be nice.
can't get those. Yeah.
Not yet.
In fact, I did find one bound item, bind to account on Acquire, that does go on the auction house.
Ah,
I tried them all because I don't know. I'm just that guy. I'm not looking for an exploit. I'm just I don't know what I was doing, but I did find one. The Light and Darkness shield you can post on the auction house, and I don't believe you should be able to.
yeah, I wouldn't think so. That's interesting. Yeah,
Nobody's bought it though.
yeah, yeah. I have one of those. I like that thing.
Well, that's interesting that something like that. So they must be keying off not of a foreign key, but actually went into the database and marked them all individually, and that's why a couple things escape.
That's the only thing I can figure too.
There are
Wow.
a myriad of mysteries in that game.
Manually creating a new new
I know, what a horrible way. What a horrible way to do that, huh?
It's like,
I wouldn't think that's what they have, but I don't know. Yeah, it could. It could be those. Those were some of the early items that were a little strange, or that they weren't raid loot, but they were. You kind of crush stuff down. They came out of a special chest, and they were bound to. What was the deal?
No, they're bound to character on
They're
Acquire.
bound to character on Acquire, yeah. But they were always a little strange, so...
I tried a couple others, and they didn't go on. So I don't think it's everything from that loot list. It might
the
actually
shield,
just be the Light and Darkness shield. I don't know yet.
That's bizarre. Yeah, that game has some behaviors that always surprise me. What else we got? It says, Crystal Cove half-orcs are now labeled correctly. I don't know why Shamgar was commenting on this, but it's one of the bug fixes.
They were called dwarves before.
Oh, that's right. But he says, yes, the players can neither confirm nor deny this because the Cove was closed before the patch came out. So, yeah.
I don't know. No, wait. That would have been awesome. And they actually thought about biology and that you can have half-orcs, not just with humans.
Now they're half dwarf. That's right. Dwarf half is dominant. Although when I logged in a couple of my characters, they were out there in the Crystal Cove. You're like, oh, hey, kind of lonely out here. No pirates, no players, just me.
They should put a
Boy, does it load fast, though.
Yeah, well, yeah, it does actually. Yeah, it's quite nice. FOT changes. What does he mean? FOT. Let's see. Full regen on early kills. Really kills this. Meh. No big deal. Just a little more coordinated. But on the flip side, when the dragons drop and the Reaver, he comes back to full health now. Bonus. So,
It's a new raid.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
Fall of Truth.
Fall of Truth.
Oh, Fall of Truth. Okay, there we go. Yeah, okay. And he's listing 3 different changes because I knew he did a Fall of. He talked about the Rangers attack. So,
but that statement was hardly English. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry. So he's talking. Well, there's not a lot of punctuation in this email, but he's talking about the full regeneration on when you don't fail to kill them at the same time. So they used to come back at half, and now they come back at full. I agree. It's not a big difference. It just takes a little bit more time. And our groups, well, we didn't run it on Elite, so I don't know. We run it on Hard or Normal.
What happens now is that if you kill all the dragons and you start working on the main Dracolich, all the dragons come back in undead form.
And that's what he's talking about. Undead dragons always spawn. It's pretty clear based on the Truthful One's dialogue that the quest objectives that the undead dragons were always supposed to spawn, but they aren't very difficult for either kite or kill and provide a nice break in the end fight. It's curious, though, that we got a release note for the Reaver's attack being fixed, but not for this. Yeah, I agree. That was confused a lot of people because it wasn't mentioned in the patch notes.
It wasn't mentioned. We basically learned about it by word of mouth.
Mm-hmm. And I didn't even know anything about undead dragons. I mean, I had never seen them, I think, when we ran that raid.
They kind of look like miniature spectral dragons in their respective colors.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't think I ever got to see them beforehand. So, and I have not run Fall of Truth since the patch.
You were playing L5R, sweetie.
Yeah, no, I understand.
I was at raid night with our
I
guild.
was summoning dragons. Shadow dragon. So good. Let's see. And, of course, the Reaver's boom attack, as it were. And Shamgar says, all right, people, take deep breaths, unwind your panties, put your big boy pants on. So, yeah, there was a lot of whining, and, it's too hard. No.
It's not that hard. We solved it really fast once we discovered how it worked.
I think there's certain people that get hit by a lightning bolt that's really big, and they're like, how could my character ever survive this? This is ridiculous, and they just don't like to be killed.
A tank with, at epic levels with 1,000 hit points can easily muster through it.
Yeah.
And you roll a reflex save. I was making reflex saves on my sorcerer monk.
Well, that's pretty good. Well, it does apply a reflex debuff on you, doesn't it, though? That's what I understand.
It's cumulative. It's like those status dots that you do as a sorcerer, whether it be for acid or it's a debuff basically.
I see.
And it can stack up to 3 times, and then and you'll get a text message saying that you're it kind of a thing, and it'll say 3, 2, 1, boom.
Snap.
Yeah, and really what happens is it's centered on you, and then it's an area effect that can happen on other people. So. You really want whoever has it either wants to move away from the group or everybody wants to move away from the person.
Yeah.
Either way, don't cluster.
Now, does the debuff work such that it makes it difficult for you to just keep his aggro by yourself because then you get debuffed over time? It becomes harder and harder to save.
Yeah, basically, what'll happen is that it'll get really harder and harder to save as time goes on.
Gotcha.
So, what we didn't try was getting the Madstone rods from the other quest, Giant Hold Tor, to see if that would remove that debuff.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
So we're gonna try to experiment that probably with this week.
That sounds like fun. I'm guessing nothing, but that would be neat if they actually had a use again. I was disappointed there weren't epic Madstone rods when you run it on epic.
So they could really remove a buff that you want.
That's right. Totally. Well, I was hoping they'd have some cool power. They'd be good for something, but no, not so much. So that's that. I saw some people whining on the forums, but I saw a lot more people going, "Hey, look, we can do it. You can do it too. Just it's a little harder. Deal with it." So.
I think everybody in DDO should be required to run an at-level character through invaders regularly. Just so you remember, you're going to die. It's no big deal. You can't take it personally.
I do remember when that first came out, we ran in there. It was a slaughter fest. It was great.
Oh, yeah.
I was getting 0 XP by the end of that one.
even when you've got a good character and you're on your 6th life or whatever and she's properly geared, you're just going to die in there. You're just going to. Sometimes. You can't help it. Okay. It's a game. So run that every now and then just to remind yourself, hey, this is fun. Dying is part of the fun. No big deal.
Yeah.
And untwist your panties, as Shamgar says so eloquently.
Yeah.
Either that or turn around and ask someone for a hug.
Yeah, there you go.
Hugs are nice.
Can I have a hug? Thanks.
Yeah, so overall, this update really doesn't do anything for me or against me. It's just kind of stuff. I have not gone. There's a collectible turn-ins. I have not gone and turned anything in. I've started clicking on the shiny things. I don't know why, to be honest. But I think I like clicking on shiny things. I want there to be a good reason to do it.
Are you well, you gotta click on a shiny thing, else why is it there?
Yeah. I keep vowing that I'm just going to stop, and then I can't not do it. So let's see. Speaking of which, we got collector NPC prices explained. Since there was a lot of question about why are they so expensive, the answer was from the boards, from the devs, the intention to increase the price of augments to properly manage their supply in-game. But due to technical constraint, all collectible turn-ins had their price increased. For upcoming releases, we will be adjusting prices based on the barter value or availability of items, among other factors. In other words, the cost increase during Lamania preview were to address augments being too cheap. However, Turbine was already in an internal code freeze by the time the patch files went out, and the need to increase the augment cost was seen, so it had temporarily done in a way that affected all the items. So they just multiplied them all. I can understand that. Well, hopefully they will adjust that. Honestly, I don't think low-level augments are very valuable. I don't, that they're really cheap on the auction house. I get them, and I'm like, whatever. I don't care. So I'm not sure that even that concern made a lot of sense. I guess they wanted them to be valuable, but they're not. That's the thing. I don't think there's a lot of demand for the darn thing. So, yeah.
I put them up on the auction house every once in a while. It doesn't. The augments themselves, it just doesn't sell.
The 20s and 25s. People are looking for those. And they want them to round out their gear. But as you're leveling up, your level up gear is just a lot more fungible, and so I don't think people care deeply about getting exact things for that. So at least I don't.
Well, I've been trying to think of I'm trying to collect a complete set of gear that has augment slots in it. Because I'm thinking, maybe that's a good way to handle my TR, is instead of having this humongous pile of gear, right, that she can use no matter what life she's on, I can have a smaller pile of gear that I just craft for each life.
Gotcha.
And augments might help with that. I don't know if it's going to work out, though. There's some of the gear differences are so significant, going from monk to fighter, whatever. But anyway, just kind of a half-baked idea I've got in the back of my head, sort of, maybe.
Yeah. Well, I have started collecting augment gear for crafting and stuff, because I think the augment system's pretty good, and I can see, augmenting a mid-level item for a character. I just can't see wanting to spend a lot of money, time, or hassle trying to do that. I'll just take good enough. Oh, you know what? I happen to have a 20-point resist thing sitting around, and I'll stick it on there if I don't have a guild leadership already. Or I don't know, +4. So, you know, I mean, that's the thing. There's just not much there that you can get from a random item anyway. It makes a lot more sense when you got a high-level character and you're trying to pack on as many abilities as you can. And
Right.
it just makes a lot more sense and it's more desirable there. So, well, anyway, that's the story. Hopefully other things will become cheaper. I really don't care if the augments become cheaper or not, but yeah, the potions and stuff, it'd be nice to have a ready supply of those. Let's see, potions. Speaking of potions, hey, we got a lot of unintended segues today. Minimum levels are wonky. Players are reporting odd minimum levels on potions. The only buff potions that still have minimum levels are Bark Skin, Resist Energy, Aid, Shield of Faith, Tumble, Mage Armor, and Remove Fear. Basic resist potions, Haste, Aid, etc. Found randomly in chests have minimum level 4. Potions bought from guild vendors have a higher minimum level. Potions in some vendors are looted randomly, now have a minimum level of 1. Turbine Dev Feather of the Sun said that the following potions will be fixed in Update 18. Aid, Tumble, Mage Armor, Remove Fear will be minimum level 1. Resist Energy potions with caster level under 7 will be minimum level 1. Bark Skin, Shield of Faith requirements are fine where they are, and the +2 varieties of those potions are already at minimum level 1. So a few changes. It looks like they're making Energy Resist more widely available, which I think is generally a good thing. It can be pretty essential sometimes. So
All I care about is that if it's haste, it should be minimum level 1 because I'm going to be TRing soon.
yeah. Well, and technically, in a sense, like, you know, it depends on who made the potion. But if, say, an artificer who gets energy resist at level 1 made a potion, then they would be minimum level 1 potions. So, in a way, you could say that this is like a rules correction in that sense. But just kind of depends how they decided that they're going to do that. So I don't know. That's nice. I think it's good to make energy resist available at lower levels. They say the higher level caster ones are going to stay where they're at. So if you want the 20 or 30 resists, then you gotta be high level to use those. Unless of course you're on a guild ship, in which case all bets are off. And then you can have your 30-point resists in the harbor and be unstoppable.
There you go.
Which is pretty much how it works out. There's a lot of quests I noticed I can do them with the 30-point resists. I cannot do them without that. It does not work so good. Let's see. Pale. Oh, go ahead.
Taming the Flames.
Yeah, Tame the Flames. Yeah, I would not go in there without fire resist in
Seal of
serious quantities.
Shanticor.
Yeah, Shanticor.
If you want Shanticor, you need that. You need to have that fire resist, at least in the second part.
Yeah. And I had a tough time. I was doing Stormcleave, and I could solo all the way to the end, but the fire damage from the Ray spell was just too much without fire resist for the characters that I had. So if I had lost my resist before the end fight, I got owned. If I had the resist, it was a piece of cake. So yes, right on that edge. Let's see. Pale Masters would like Donato to come back. If you're going, who the hell is Donato? Well, he's a friend of Versagante, if that helps you, who resides in House J. You stroll up to Versagante while in undead form, and Versagante used to offer you the option to talk to Donato. In turn, Donato would offer you all sorts of Pale Master goodies in exchange for collectibles. Granted, randomness of his turn-in resulted with sort of stuff you didn't really need, but sometimes you received harm scrolls, which were awfully useful. Dev Vargal answers with, we are looking into the possibilities for harming yourself and possibly other self-inflicted wounds.
You can be like a teenage emo and gut yourself there in the corner.
Yeah. So much fun. Well, I'm glad they're looking into that, because, yeah, it would really be nice to have some consumables for Pale Masters. It's a pain to come out of form in order to use stuff. I would especially like to be able to get rid of ability damage while I'm undead. That would be really handy, since I can take ability damage now, and you cannot use restoration when you're undead. So that's really annoying.
Does Radiant Blast work on that?
Yeah, no, I don't think you're affected by it. You know, it just bounces right off you. So,
Okay.
yeah, it's really a pain. And now you're supposed to be immune to most of that, but there are still some things like that do charisma damage and stuff, and you just can't get rid of them. Very irritating. So you have to drop out of form, drink your potion, then go back, spend another 100 mana points to go back to being undead. It takes a while. Anyway, yeah, I never used that guy because I just found, oh look, it's a scroll of, minor harm, whatever it was. He got a lot of junky stuff that scrolls for low-level harm spells just was not worth bothering to me. But it was really cool because you went there undead, and there was like the secret thing, and then this vampire talks to you, and it was really cool. So I thought it was just a neat little feature of the game. But yeah. Still, I'll trade that in for actually being able to buy harm scrolls that I can use it myself. That would be awesome. Actually, well, speaking of the subject, I think they need to bring back a lot of the scrolls that they've taken away. Bring back Dimension Door scrolls. Bring back, a lot of the other scrolls. Firewall scrolls. Yeah, Blade Bear. I mean, they've, the way the spell power works and stuff now. I mean, I guess if you're an artificer, you could go to town with that stuff, but I don't know.
Well, only marginally.
Yeah. So. Yeah, I don't know. It would be nice to see that stuff come back because it's just handy, and it's no longer would be kind of a cheesy thing to just plow through stuff. See, DDO Store News. If you type in LEXSP01, you get a free lesser experience elixir, which is very nice. Gives you, I think it's 10% on that one. I'm not sure, but anyway, it's free, which is great. And 20% off of character banks, shared banks, bank vault, and storage bags until the 28th.
Unlike the res cake, this will actually stack with my other potions.
Oh yeah, cool.
I care about stacking. My bank space and my inventory space is very very important to me.
Yeah, mine too.
Although
res cakes don't stay in my inventory long enough to really matter. I wouldn't know if they stacked or not.
Oh, that means you're just ready for another round of Ghosted Perdition. Where you need.
We did fire one of those off last time we were in there. We were getting pretty good at handling that beholder, though. Not too bad.
Well, that's.
But he's tough when you're playing two air savants and he's immune to electricity. When you're playing an air savant and stuff, and he's immune to ice, right? And that's my backup damage type. So I'm just like, So I've got a firewall and my innate magic missiles, and that's what I got. Otherwise, I got to get a stick and beat on him with it. So kind of sad. Let's see. Special feature: PAX 2013 most notable games and news. So Anne compiled this of games that she thought would be pretty interesting that were featured at PAX 2013, PAX East, that is. Let's see, Blizzard debuted something called Hearthstone, Diablo 3 for the PS3. Hearthstone Heroes of Warcraft is a free-to-play collectible card game for the PC, Mac, and iPad. So, kind of interesting if you like collectible card games. And I guess it's, you said like consoles too or something?
Yeah, it's for consoles too, I believe. I think that's for later, maybe next year. I'm not sure.
Uh-huh.
But basically, they haven't released a new expansion for World of Warcraft. Now they're just moving on to casual games.
Huh?
Which is
Yeah.
pretty interesting. Interesting
Definitely.
move. But Diablo 3 is for the PS3.
I thought they just did come out with an expansion fairly recently.
It was earlier
How
this year.
recently was that?
The Pandaria guys, right? I mean, wasn't that fairly recent?
That was like 6 months ago, wasn't it?
Yeah, maybe 6. It was earlier this year or late last year.
Yeah, or something.
But
Hard to remember it.
yeah, I don't know. They're getting into the casual CCG market, I guess. Okay. I always wish a lot of my favorite CCGs were computer version because it's easier to keep track of the cards. But the problem is when I don't really feel like paying real money for virtual cards in any great quantity, and they want to make as much money as they would with the real cards, and I'm just like, no, like, it just doesn't feel right.
The cards feel right in your hand too. There's a physical aspect to the cards that you just can't get on the iPad. You just can't.
It's true. Yeah, as far as play, I do like to play with the real cards a lot more. But on the other hand, as far as collecting, well, I got all these boxes downstairs filled with cards that could be sorted.
Tell me about it.
Yeah, the computer sorts cards real well.
You're going to see something kind of cool at Gen Con. I don't know if they do this at other conventions too, but every year they have this charity thing where people bring in their commons that they don't even want anymore, and there's thousands and thousands and thousands of them. And for 3 days, people build card stack houses out of this, and they end up filling. It just gets all over the place. And then on the last day, you throw money at it to shatter it down. So that's how the charity makes money. But it's amazing just how many people showing up with 5,000 card boxes of here, stack with these. I don't need any of this.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah, I used to run Magic tournaments at a local game convention where you would play your deck, and anything that goes to the graveyard you have to tear into little pieces and throw away. And then when you win, you get your opponent's deck, and you have to shuffle his deck and your deck together, and then play that in the next round. Obviously, single elimination, right? And we used to call it Iron Man Magic. Strategies for the week. pure luck and random nonsense. But people would get super excited tearing up rare cards and stuff. They'd just be like, "Oh my god!" And so it's kind of a fun event to run in that spirit. Let's see, Civilization 5, Brave New World expansion. One more turn. I've been playing some Civ 5 this week myself. I love Civilization so much.
How many hours have you logged in total? Do you remember?
Well, on Civ 5, I think I'm in the 270, 280 range or something like that.
Yeah, mine's 210. 210 hours worth of Civilization.
Yeah, a lot.
I don't know how many hours I have, but all of them were spent when I should have been doing other things.
Right, yeah. I like to play, I don't know, I play it when I'm watching TV. Well, I'm doing other useless things. I play Civilization. But I love that game so much. Anyway, I'm happy to see a new expansion coming out. Looks okay. I mean, there's nothing about it that looks super exciting to me, but sure, I'll take it. Let's see, Supergiant Games Transistor, a science fiction action game with a lead female character in a Bastion-like game.
So Bastion is a very popular game that came out for Xbox Arcade, and it's basically a top-down kind of faux 3D scroller kind of a thing.
Okay.
But in this case, I really wanted to mention it because it features a really strong lead female character. You know, that doesn't fit the usual tropes that female characters are put into. So
Yeah.
Nice.
you see it? Download it.
Cool.
It'll
That sounds
be
good.
cheap.
Ubisoft has got Might and Magic 10. They're
Yay.
working with Limbic Entertainment, comprised entirely of fans to make sure that they get this entry right and live to the both the unique core formula and the new set of improved and fine-tuned features. Sounds like you're excited. You want to talk about this, Jeff? Do you know?
Well,
much about Might
I
and
don't
Magic?
know anything about Might and Magic 10 specifically.
Yeah.
But Might and Magic and also Heroes of Might and Magic are things that I have a lot of history with. So it's nice to see that the series continues and people are still giving it love. I'm going to have to check this one out.
Yeah, I'm
Number
guessing
9
since
was
it's not.
a pretty big flop because
Oh, yeah.
3DO, the original developer, kind of went belly up. So Ubisoft acquired the IPO for it, and then they hired Limbic Entertainment to develop the new Might and Magic 10.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I think I've heard of Limbic before, and I played them back in the day, the original Might and Magic, and I loved Heroes of Might and Magic. Those were great games as well. So,
Yeah, a lot of fun.
but I haven't played many of the recent entries just because I've been into DDO, to be honest, and so kind of eats up some of my role-playing game space.
My non-Civ 5 time.
Yeah, exactly. Civ 5 eats up the strategy space for me pretty heavily. I mean, I've been
One
thinking
more
about getting
time.
other games, and then I play them, and I go, I could be playing Civ 5, and it's just better. So
I just want to try this one more thing. Hold on, I'm almost ready.
Yeah. What if I was the Vikings and I was on a mountain kingdom? What would happen then? Oh yeah. Or I'll just play the first 50 turns and see how it's gonna go. Yeah. Oh well.
Yeah, that 50 turns into 200 real quick.
Well, on the expansion, the one thing they said is, and I would agree as a critique of the game, it gets a little boring at the very end. The end game tends to kind of, you're just sort of playing out what you know is going to happen. So they're going to try and shake that up a little bit more.
Oh, cool. All right.
Let's see, Capcom, Dungeons & Dragons, Tower of Doom, Shadowver Mistra, and DuckTales, three things that don't necessarily go together, are all remastered on an HD double pack for PC, PlayStation Network, Xbox Live, and Wii U. And if I'm not mistaken, those are kind of side-scroller beat-em-ups that were D&D themed.
Probably not DuckTales, though.
Not DuckTales much.
No, not DuckTales.
But
DuckTales was like, I don't know what DuckTales was. I've never played it.
yeah, I don't remember these games specifically, but I remember Capcom having some Dungeons & Dragons titles that were side-scrollers, so I think that's what this is. CCP Games is putting out Odyssey, EVE Online's 19th expansion, if you're into that game, which is always, like DDO, a game I admire for sticking to its guns on what kind of a game it is. Nintendo, this is one for me, Fire Emblem Awakening, more awesome turn-based strategy. So I love Fire Emblem. I didn't play the last one because I didn't have whatever Nintendo platform it was on. And I don't have this is for the Game Boy 3D, I think, which I don't have, so I might not play this. But I like Fire Emblem. It's a lot of fun. It's like a role-playing game, but it's a turn-based strategy game as well. It kind of blends the two. So you have characters and they have stories, but you're also fighting armies and things. So it's a lot of fun. Gearbox Borderlands 2 DLC character is not included in the season pass. This is Ryan. WTF, Ann says.
I'm really big into Borderlands 2 because I like the characters and I like the humor and the comedy and the plot. And really, when they put out a new character and I bought a season pass, they better include it. Because that's what I want. Gosh darn it.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah,
the latest pack is so funny. The villain, the characters, like when you're playing the game, it entertains you by having NPCs talk to you. Like you're not even really sure how they're talking to you because you're in the middle of a swamp fighting monsters, but somehow they're able to broadcast to you. And and this one, the bad guy, at first he's sort of a mad scientist that invents monsters, but then when you beat his monsters, he's like, "Oh my god, I can't believe you beat my monster! I am so gonna die! Oh my god!" And it's so much fun. It's very satisfying.
He's the self-prophesizing evil antagonist in this story.
Yeah, and like there's like a good guy protagonist too, and he's like, "Man up! What kind of villain are you?" Like, did you see what they just did? No way. So yeah, it's so fun.
I know my boys have been spending a lot of time in the multiplayer online version.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
A lot of death matches and so forth. So
yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's just a fun game. Let's see what else we got. Wizards Magic 2014 Duel of the Planeswalkers. Kujito TCG partnering with Playdeck to bring D&D board games to the iOS. So this is just stuff from Wizards of the Coast. Duel of the Planeswalkers, that's their Magic title, which I have to say as an ex-Magic player is great because I get my little Magic fix. I don't have to buy a lot, have some fun, and those games are just the right length for me. I play them on the iPad a lot. It's pretty good for that. And then also I guess they're going to bring the D&D board games. I'm thinking like the Drizzt one, and they're kind of semi-cooperative board games. They're going to bring those to the iPad, so that's cool.
I'm waiting for Lords of Waterdeep. That's my favorite one.
Oh yeah, that is a great board game. If you want a regular board game, or if it comes to iOS, yeah, that is a great game. And it's one of the great things about it is it scales super well for different numbers of players. So it works great as a 2-player game, and it works great as a 4-player game, and as a 3-player game. So that's really rare. It plays real well at all those levels. Other notable games: Saints Row. What was that? 4. Elder Scrolls Online was previewed, I guess. I haven't heard too much about that, so I'm definitely looking forward to Elder Scrolls. I like Saints Row 3, but I haven't played it much yet. It's one of those things I got in a big package of stuff. I hear those are fun, though. Let's see. Warner Brothers announces San Francisco studio on the first day of PAX East. San Francisco studio will be focusing primarily on free-to-play, mobile, social, and browser-based games. The Bay Area is home of the social and mobile gaming, and Warner Brothers wants to expand in that direction. GDC is in San Francisco, March 25th through 30th, so going on pretty much right now. And that's kind of a big game industry convention. Been invited that, where I have a membership in the Game Developers Association, so I get invites to GDC, but it's pretty expensive to go, so I've never gone. And then I'm going to go down to the end of our news here and bring this in. Warner Brothers and Turbine actually announced a new game the day after PAX East. It is a MOBA game, meaning it's one of those kind of, strategy arena games.
Player online battle arena.
Battle arena, there you go. So this is like Dota or League of Legends. So it's free-to-play online fighting arena game featuring a deep roster of iconic DC comic characters, which apparently doesn't include all that many. It has 3 different versions of Batman and 2 Jokers, and and a few other pretty well-known characters. Doesn't seem like they're launching with a whole ton of characters, though. But the way these MOBA games tend to work, especially the free-to-play ones, is they put out new characters all the time that you can pay for to play. Game trailer, some related skeletal information is available at www.infinitecrisis.com. So cool to see.
Where you can see all 3 Batman.
Yeah. We got Gothic Batman, Modern Batman.
This is quite a direction for Turbine to take up this.
I guess so, yeah.
Different from what they've produced before. So.
Yeah, completely different. Not just because it's the superhero genre, but it's not an MMO.
Yeah.
So
Although it is another licensed property, which is one of their specialties in a way these days. So
Well, in a way, except I mean, Warner Brothers already. Well, okay. I mean, Warner Brothers has Batman, right?
yeah,
So
yeah,
I guess-
that makes sense. But they've done other Batman games, which they gave to other developers. So yeah, seems like they trust Turbine to get the job done. So that's pretty cool. I'll bet Jared will be working on it in some fashion.
Well, it'll be free to play though, so we can check it out.
Yeah, and I may. I'm always intimidated by those games, to be honest. They take a lot of skill and focus, and you really focus for 20, 30 minutes, and you can't waver your attention, and that's not always my kind of game. So
Hey, I can be bad at any game. I might as well be bad at that game too.
that's true.
It's
You know,
free.
I don't mind the computer whooping my ass, but when it's other people, I don't know.
Okay.
Somehow I get a little more defensive. It depends. I have some bad experiences.
Truth is, ever since BattleNet first day, when Diablo 2 came out, that was the end of those kind of things for me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess the communities on those can be pretty bad too. But
Pretty bad, yeah. But maybe this one will be different. Who knows? And
Yeah,
it's
we'll
free.
see.
Right.
Yeah, why not try it out? That is the thing I love about the free to play universe is you're like, hey, I'll give it a shot. I mean, why not? I'll set it to download overnight and then play it. And if I don't like it, I'll uninstall and on I go with my life. If I like it,
And
then, hey.
I'll say that the trailer looked fairly interesting. The characters. I mean,
Yeah, the
it's good
graphics look
3D
real
and
nice.
stuff. Yeah.
And I think
So-
it's a much better property for doing this than Lord of the Rings. There was that Lord of the Rings one that I was just like, this seems like kind of a dumb idea, but I don't know how that one did, but I knew it was around. It
I'm
didn't
sure it has
crush.
its audience.
It probably does. Yeah, I really have no clue.
Yeah.
So, but a friend of mine worked on that, so I hope it's doing well for him. Let's see. DDO Gamer. I think we were down
Hey,
to the
back
DDO
to
Gamer
DDO.
portion.
Oh my god.
That's right. You got to talk about other stuff from
DDO
time to
for
time.
like a whole I don't know,
20 minutes or
10
something?
minutes.
Yeah.
Ooh,
All right.
10 minutes.
All right, so let's get
Not
back into it.
DDO.
I have DDO things to talk about. My first thing I wanted to talk about was shard auctions, although I think we've pretty much covered that. This is day 8 of the Astral Shard era, after all.
Well, you've got the conspiracy theory here, though.
That's right. Somebody's been posted to the forums, and I don't remember the specific names, but somebody came out with an interesting thread accusing, and this was just accusatory in typical forum language, no holds barred, Turbine of putting of basically stuffing the auction house with items.
Mhm.
So. And then other people jumping in and saying, "Oh yeah, they're buying them too to run up the prices." I don't know. I don't really understand what Turbine would get by buying their own astral shards, right? I mean, it's not really a currency unless a player has paid for them, right?
Yeah.
But regardless, so Feather of Sun had to come in and deny it a couple of times. He said, "Actually, Turbine employee personal accounts are barred from purchasing items from the Shard Exchange. The bid and buyout buttons are permanently disabled for us." And then later, Cordovan himself came in and said, all right, let's put this in writing then. Turbine employees are not spawning loot to put directly on the Shard Exchange themselves. Seriously? Also, we are not working with the aliens to send messages that are picked up by your microwaved meatloaf dinner. At least I don't think so. Now, I guess if you're a diehard conspiracy theorist, they did not come right out and say that auction house has never been seeded with Turbine items, right? So, I mean, if for those of us who are conspiracy theorists, I guess you still have hope. If hope is the right word for it, I'm not sure it is. So, so that's that. Ultimately, the Astral Shard era dawned, and the game is still being played. Nothing came to an end, right? I mean,
Yeah, I think some people were hoping that that it would be a huge failure, and that their boycotts and predictions of doom would prove that they were right all along, that this was a terrible, terrible, terrible idea. And then, oh no, look, these people are on here. It must be a conspiracy. It can't be real, because it couldn't be that I was wrong. That's
right. So I'm not. People aren't using the auction house. I mean, we've talked about this already. There's some crazy prices. There's probably some stuff that's underpriced, but the game's still being played. People are still logging in. There's still LFMs.
Yeah.
All seems pretty right with the world to me.
Agreed.
It's pretty much its own isolated economy in some respects.
Well, I think in time, as more astral shards join the pool, we'll find out. I mean, people are already buying and selling the autos boxes and the raid timers. So, we'll see where this goes. I imagine it'll. I mean, I've looked. Like I say, I've got some bids in. There's a couple of like a spider spun robe. I mean, if I can get it for 4 shards, what the heck? Why not? I'll try that. Yeah. Let's see. Also, I had kind of an ethical question come up this week. So I've been trying to kit out Chelina Armstrong, the world's strongest halfling, with a specific set of mauls, one of which she's after is she's trying to epic her Fury of the Flame. I've already got the seal, I've already got the scroll, I've already got the item. All I need is the shard. So all I have to do is run Spinner of Shadows. And I have been, and I have been, and I have been. So I'd solo the quest, or sometimes my gamer girl would help me out and I'd duo it. And at the end, I'd throw up an LFM. Come join me. Free loot.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Okay? And, now I don't like it when people put up an LFM, run in Devil Assault, pass me the token or don't join, right?
Right, yeah.
And I don't like that partly because it's kind of a confrontational thing. But, I don't want to do this guy's dirty work. If I'm going to run the quest,
absolutely.
I want whatever loot falls to me. But this situation is different. Here's a situation where the quest is done. All you got to do is step in, and you're going to get free XP and 2 chests, one of which is an epic chest, right? So that was. But my question was, is this ethical? I wasn't sure. Would you step into that if you saw that LFM? Would you join it?
Oh yeah, I've done those before. I mean, we do that in the guild, not uncommonly. When somebody's doing something, they'll ask if anybody wants to have a go at the chest. And
Usually it goes like, it's more degrading. Pikers welcome.
I guess so. Yeah, there is that.
So, and the response I got back was pretty much, 100%, yeah, this is ethical, this is fine. It's different than having people run the quest for you and expecting them to hand you their loot. You ran it. And so I've done it, I don't know, 15 or 20 times. I had one guy who ran right up and ended the quest before everybody could get loaded in. But for the most part, everybody's been really good sports about it. The only response I got back of any other sort was one guy suggested that I might feel like I kind of cheated myself if I got the shard too easily, Mm-hmm. But now that I'm on run 15 to 20 and no shard, that's no longer an issue.
Yeah. What we used to do this all the time with was Muckbane. Like, we'd go in there, and then if Muck spawned and he killed him, then we would put up an LFM if anyone. Yeah, because for a while Muckbanes were pretty nice to have as low-level characters. So we'd put that up, and then people would jump in to try and get one. So, but yeah, I don't know. I think it's cool. It's all good. I'm never one to say, oh, so-and-so didn't earn X, Y, or Z. I mean, I've been in a quest and somebody just slides me a +4 tome, and I'm like, yeehaw! Never gotten one of those before. That's great.
Yeah.
So, serendipity.
Well, and it was just interesting to get people's opinions, and it was interesting that in this case, the forums and the people who commented directly on the post agreed, which is surprisingly unusual. Which brings me to my next topic. And the closest thing that happened, I thought, to actual news this week was, and it's not even DDO news, so we're leaving DDO again for a moment. Lord of the Rings Online is forming a player council. And Turbine is inviting people to apply to be on the Players Council. And there's some rules. You have to have been playing for at least 6 months and some other stuff. And they're going to select, I think I'm working from memory here, 30 to 50 players. And they're going to serve as kind of like a built-in. You have a 1-year term. I thought it was interesting that you have a term of office, right? You'll be a focus group kind of person. You'll be participating in alpha testing, sort of thing. Clearly, this is an opportunity to have a greater impact on the game than the average player. I don't think they're going to slavishly follow whatever feedback you would give them. And they specifically say things like, well, and you still have to be polite. Right. So, okay. So, but it's an interesting concept, and they're going to have 5 to 7 people out of that group that make up a smaller council called, cleverly enough, the Small Council, and their purpose is to provide feedback on the player council process. And the cool part is they do it in person at Turbine once a year at Turbine's expense.
See, that's cool, but we don't have a bigger player base to accommodate that, do we?
I don't know.
How many players do we have?
Well, not that many.
Not as much as Lotro, of course.
Yeah, Lotro's a bigger game.
I'm sure it is. Bigger. So I don't know. I think the idea of rewarding the kind of having an actual obtainable benefit to positive reinforce the kind of behavior that I think makes the game more fun for everybody is a plus. And that does. This encourages positive presence, positive game activity, right? So I wish we had. So well, that was okay. To bring it back to DDO, that was the point of my post today. Was, hey, do we want one? And if we did, would you be on it? Okay. So and I like, would I be on it? Well, I don't think so, because one of the reasons is you're not allowed to be on it if you're journalistic or whatever. And I know I'm not a journalist. I don't pretend that even for a second. But I am opinionated, and that seemed like the kind of thing they don't want. They were specific about who can apply and who can't, and I think my blog would make me ineligible.
It could be that, they might want people who don't have any conflicts of interest, right?
Yeah.
In that role.
It's a conflict of interest. I mean, I'll admit that I was once on Mournlands, but I thought it would be a bad idea if I took on DDOcast to still be on there.
Right.
So I don't do it anymore because,
right.
Well, I might make a mistake and let things know that shouldn't be known. I might accidentally break an NDA, which I do not want to do.
I did that already on the My DDO blog. So, back before I even had my own standalone rule. I didn't mean to, but I wrote a whole article about druids before I was supposed to. Fortunately, Jerry caught it before anybody else really noticed it and cleaned up the mess. And thank you again for that, Jerry. I appreciate that. So, anyway, also the other part of it is that I'm not really a very competent or willing tester. That's not how I.
I'm pretty awful at it. Yeah, I mean, I've done a lot of betas, and I'm always next to useless, to be honest. I'll get on a forum for a beta and I'll opine about stuff. I'm pretty good at that. But when it comes to actually getting in the game and doing reproduced tests, and that's too much like my job. So
exactly, this is what I do for a living. I don't want to reproduce bugs and document them. And I don't want to do that. Not for fun. Yeah. So I probably wouldn't be on the council now. So, okay, to go back to my segue point. Every single person who commented on DDO Gamer thought it was a great idea. Mm-hmm. And one of them was even willing to be on it. Everybody else said, but I wouldn't do it. On the forums, I got a lot of responses too, and every single person thought it was a horrible idea. Every one of them.
Why was it a horrible idea? Did they say why exactly?
Well, most of them were afraid of the kinds of people who would volunteer to be on it.
They don't trust their fellow players.
They do not.
Well, if they're from the forums, I can understand why.
Right, and they say, hey, Turbine can ignore us already. Why would we? But that's the point. I mean, why would Turbine set up a process like this and then ignore the feedback? They get plenty of feedback they can ignore already, right? I mean, why set up a process to make it official? So, but it was an interesting dichotomy. 100% think it's a great idea. 100% think it's a horrible idea. The Venn diagram circles are way apart. So.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know. I think it's an okay idea. I just, I suppose for me it would be like, what does Turbine get out of it? And I guess they get a more manageable selection of players that they can interact with, because it's hard to go on the forums and just have a discussion with players about stuff, because you're going to get 1,000 voices and they're all going to be yammering in different directions, and it's difficult, right? But if you get something like this, you get a little more focus. And actually, I think that the small council is kind of a brilliant idea, because it encourages everybody on the bigger council to be useful, so that they might get selected for the small council so they can go take a free trip. So, in a sense, I think that encourages people that are in the group to not be lazy, because there's something pretty cool that they want to achieve by being good members of that community. My question is, Moorlands is kind of largely, you're not supposed to talk about it if you're in there and that sort of thing. So is this something where the people that are in the council, the other players know that they are? I'm assuming that's the case, but
they're going to publish their game names, but not their real names. And yes, they are going to publish them. And Lotro has its equivalent of Mournlands. It's called the Palantir server.
Okay.
Which is a cool name for it, because I know what a Palantir is. But I don't know. My personal, to me, the biggest benefit is not the feedback route, because I imagine that Jerry and Tolero, I mean, that's what they're supposed to be doing already, right? Is gathering our feedback from a variety of sources, and they seem like competent people. I'm sure they do a fine job of it. Yeah. But
speaking of feedback, if I may interject, we haven't received a questionnaire in a long while. The last questionnaire I received by email was something about having private servers.
Oh, yeah.
private
Well,
servers?
those are random though. I think so. Whether
Oh,
you
it's
get them or
random.
not.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure I've ever gotten one.
Yeah. No, I've done a
I've-
few of them.
I've
Like 2 or 3.
gotten a lot.
Yeah, Anne's got more than I have.
So I would be in favor of it because I like that they're, you know, I really like their, I want people, geez, I can't talk. It encourages people to react with the game and their fellow players in a positive way. And I like that. You know,
Yeah,
to
I
me,
think that'd be cool.
it's a social game, and the best part of the game can be the social interactions. It can also be the worst part of the game. And I'd like to see, you know, some sort of actual tangible reason to be a good person in the game. You know, so, and here would be one.
Yeah, absolutely. And maybe Turbine will get close enough they can, you know, I mean, EverQuest does like a convention for their game. It would be cool if Turbine did one. Even if it was a convention for multiple games, it'd be nice to have a little get together
Yeah.
like that for them. That would be cool. But
All right,
That's
so
when they should, yeah. we should have one of those. I think that would be a really cool thing to have. I think we have enough players for it, both in Turbine and for not for Turbine, for Lotro and DDO. I think we should have a Turbine con, I guess.
be neat.
that would be cool. Yeah. So, and that's DDO Gamer for the week.
Cool. Well, thanks,
Good
Jeff.
job.
Very neat stuff. All right. Well, let's do a quick what you've been doing. I've been working on my TR up to level 19, cranking very, 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 very slowly away as far as my perspective goes. Assembling collector's items. I don't know why, but that's what I've been doing. And it's very mindless, and I kind of like moving stuff from one bag to another. I have no understanding of that, but I feel compelled. And very, very slowly grinding my Cannith crafting levels. Another thing that I don't really understand why I do it, but I continue to do it. I'm up into the low 90s now. And
nice.
I thought mistakenly that like the unbound items capped at 100, and then the unbound ones went up to 150. No, they both go to 150, and so I got a long ways to go. So be it. But I have learned that it's better to grind the unbound ones than the bound ones. Or I mean, it's better to grind the unbound than the bound because you get lower land recipes, so you use less ingredients that way. I didn't realize that for a while, and it was getting to where anything I wanted to make, I had to have the special shards and stuff for, which is really annoying. And I was like, oh, I can just switch over to these and get just as much XP for a lot less ingredients. Why didn't I do this before? So
You have to go back and forth because the more
Yeah.
you do a recipe, the less XP you get for it. So
right, yeah,
right.
Yeah,
I just go back and
that
forth.
too.
Right.
Oh,
You can
okay.
sort by the XP you're going to get.
yeah. I always do that. Yeah, I'm always going for the top level stuff that I happen to have stuff for. So, so that continues. How about you, Dawn?
Well, I worked on my TR, and unlike Jeff, I actually took a 19 level.
Yeah, we
Because,
did. We
well,
both took level 19.
Yeah, well, and I get spells, you know, because I'm an arcane archer sorcerer savant, lightning savant. So I need those spells in order to get through the rest of the get to 20, and lo and behold, it worked out well. So I'm glad I did. I have totally given up on Cannith crafting, and I have now given all my components and all my resources to Sig's characters.
Yay!
That's what I did. I confirmed my abandonment for Cannith crafting. It's just too grindy for me. No, I don't want to do it anymore. I'm sorry.
And it's like, can you make this shard for me? I'm like, no, I'm not high enough level yet.
You will be.
Can you make anything useful? No, kind of.
Well, maybe a little bit.
Do you want featherball?
I'll pick up my request when I get to TRing. I'll
Yeah,
need
yeah.
some stuff down at the on the lobby level, so that should solve it up quite nicely.
Yeah, I took a barbarian level because I was like, I want to run faster, and so I get a base run speed, and then I get a speed boost, and I have the wings from the air savant, so I'm like mega fast. So I had no other good reason to take that level.
Barbarian levels. I love it.
Yeah, I'm 18 sorcerer,
he
1
wanted-
barbarian.
Basically, he took a level of zerging.
I really like
That's
it,
what
you know.
he did.
Yeah, we were doing. I don't know. Is it Spinner of Shadows, the one where you fight her at the end and you collect the crystals and stuff?
Yes.
And having wings plus barbarian boost plus the high run speed, it was great. She'd be on me, and I'm just like, yeah, I'll see you later. I'm going to the other side of the cavern to farm spires. You let me know when you catch up, so I can go back to the other side of the cavern again. So that was pretty good.
I've been running that mainly on my monk for that exact reason.
Yeah.
Right.
So I don't know. I don't regret it. Oh, and I don't have to cast Master or whatever it's called anymore.
Oh yeah.
Master's Touch. Yeah. I don't
Right.
have to use
Master's
that.
Touch.
I just swing any weapon I like.
Do? What else did I do? Oh yeah. While you were playing L5R, the guild ran the new version of the Follow the Truth post patch 1, update 17, and it wasn't too bad. I don't know what people are complaining about. It was pretty easy to persevere through, learn the new stuff, and we got it, and we even got some really cool loot at the end as well.
Cool. Well, the Madborn are awesome. That helps.
Yeah, pretty much. We're patient people too. We'll just sit there, try to observe, exchange ideas, and postulate as to why things are happening. So
Yeah, it's a nice guild. When we all die, it's not like, all right, who did what? Oh, you can't. It's like, no, well, we didn't win. So what should we try this time? Okay,
Right.
well, let's do that.
yeah,
Right, great.
basically we
How
just
about you
sit
do this
down.
and I'll do this? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, we
Sort it
this
out.
time we kind of pulled together all of our empirical evidence and then formulate a plan. It's very logical.
Yeah. Good group of folks.
Very nice.
How about you, Jeff?
Well, I ran a lot of Spinner of Shadows, really a lot, probably 20 times. Did not get the shard I'm looking for yet, even when I had people in there helping me. I also made a little progress on my TR. Actually, it's interesting how they went through and they redid all the named items from some of the quests, but not all of them. So, like, I'm going through the first set of the Lord's March Bank stuff, lots of XP and especially frameworks, and those items were not touched. And they're really good items if they had a slot, So there's Ketra's Wit and Tears of Sight, and some of that stuff would probably be useful all the way up to level 20 if they put a slot on some of it. Maybe that's why they didn't. I don't know. So so that's what I did. Some work on my TR and a whole lot of Spinner of Shadows.
So how do you manage not to pull your teeth out while listening to the Spinner of Shadows for the upteenth time explain her evil plans?
I've learned that this is a quest that features regular coffee breaks.
Okay.
So
Get up.
yeah, you run her over to where you're being held, and then you go make some coffee. And as soon as I finish, I've got the LFM up. I'm trying to get people to come in and help me loot. So I'm not
that's
listening to that
how,
either.
Okay, that's not so bad. Yeah, all right.
Right.
That's something to do at the end.
Right.
That's funny.
I just whip out the iPad and start reading.
Work on my blog post for the day. I don't know. Cook
Play
spaghetti.
a game of Carcassonne. I don't know.
Got a little time. So I really like that voiceover. I really do, but
Oh, it's good, but it's pretty long when you've done the quest. If you're repeating.
really long, really
Yeah.
long. Yeah. Somewhere around the 15th time, I've heard it enough.
Yeah.
Okay,
It'll
maybe
be
around the 5th
expedited
time.
version. Let's see. Community news. Got a little bit of this. Of course, there was a Turbine PAX East party, which went well. Food, drinks, prizes, etc. The Turbine did not have a booth this year, not even with Warner Brothers. But Jerry/Cordovan was roaming the halls, handing out goodies dressed in his Turbine and Warner Brothers attire so that people could find him. So that's pretty cool. They did have, of course, the Fan Appreciation Party, which we will hear much more about shortly. Shamgar/PJS Techies Building Blocks 25 is up. This is a new series on ability scores that he's starting out, and the first one is the very, very, very basics of how ability scores work. But as he posts some more of those, we can talk a little bit about our theories of how to do your ability scores. But we'll leave that for another show. DDO Chronicle, Evernote's DDO March Madness. This is one of those things that I wouldn't think would be entertaining, but I actually did find it entertaining. On my DDO, Evernote has created March Madness by pitting all of his own DDO characters against each other in imaginary arena battles, and then wrote about it. And I have to say, it was actually kind of fun to read.
She's a good writer. I like her stuff.
Yeah. So it's the sort of self-indulgent thing that, actually this is exactly the kind of play I had as a kid. Like I would build all my Legos and I would invent the story and have a huge battle. So maybe it just reminds me a lot of that. But it was actually quite amusing. So, and I didn't realize at first it was this imaginary thing. I thought that these were actual PvP matches, and then I read further on. I was like, oh no, okay, this is very different.
And she had the coolest graphic I think I've ever seen on the MyDDO blog. So
it's like a Dretch with a basketball. That one.
Yeah, it really looks great.
Yeah, it's awesome. I'm gonna not pronounce this. Bearhur9 or something like that has a nice thread on the forum going about for DDO jokes. So, boy, have I had a lifetime of DDO jokes. But if you can't get enough of those, you can check it out or post your own on there. Chronicle comment: what item would you bring to PAX and why? What DDO item? So this is something from DDO. Oh, geez. I'm drawing a blank at the moment. A res cake would be nice. After a long weekend at PAX, you kind of need one. So I guess I'll go with that. A Cerberus Spirit cake for Sunday evening. So I can go back to work fresh the next day. How about you, darling?
Oh, me? Wow, I'd bring a hireling. One to carry my goods.
Oh, it's a good idea.
And the other one, it would be a cleric hireling to cast restoration and, cure disease on me.
Oh, good move. How about you, Jeff?
I would bring Eyes of Charming. So within an hour, I'd have all the swag on the convention floor. Mm-hmm. By the end of the weekend, I'd be president of Turban.
Very nice. Well thought. Cool. Let's see, a couple lightning posts real quick. And these were both from YouTube, actually. There's not many people leave YouTube comments, but a couple people did, so I thought I would read them. And this was from our last episode talking about the Epic TRing. So Deno ST01 posted, my guess on the Epic TR is I'll end up being more kind of Destiny XP race set, but gain extra bonuses to compensate. Either getting extra points to spend in Destinies you've maxed out, so you can take more abilities, or maybe bonus fate points so that you can have more powerful twists, maybe even a fourth twist lot, ? And then Justin H. wrote in, as a response to that, I believe, this thought kind of scares me. Having run Rusted Blades hundreds, if not thousands of times already on my tunes, I have no wish to ever enter that quest ever again for ED Farm. And if they implement something like this, I can honestly say a ton of people getting rather annoyed, myself included. Although I don't think it will be the reason for many rage quits, but I can see a whole slew of verbal nerd rage on the forums for months after. Yeah, I could see that too. But interesting guess. Yeah, I do think that there will be some connection between Epic Destinies and whatever they're going to change about TRs, but I don't know what. Let's see. Other gaming news. We'll mention briefly, since the show's gone a little bit long. Neverwinter Beta Weekend. I tried it and tried it out. We played for about 3 hours or so. It was fairly amusing and very unlike DDO. There's not much character customization. The background graphics, like the city and stuff, are really nice. The character graphics are kind of I don't like the style as much as DDO, but they're a little high resolution, I guess. They have capes, except for some reason they keep sticking out of the front of guards' necks. I don't know why. It was a really weird graphic. You're walking around, all of a sudden they're like flying bibs that like sticking straight out of their necks, and then they whoosh.
It's not capes, it's bibs.
Yeah, and then they whoosh back behind their back when you get close to them. So hey, no game free of bugs. What else can I say about it? I don't know. A lot of people are raving about the user-made content, that's really good, and I still think that is the major draw that the game will have. The adventures and the dungeons that we did were, comparable to DDO, different in various ways, but, kind of amusing short adventures. Like, they're very much like harbor quests. They took about 5 to 10 minutes to play through. You wander through a dungeon, you kill some monsters, you get a couple pieces of dialogue, you pick up some stuff. Really similar in that regard. Fighting gameplay is sort of action-y, but you can't move and attack at the same time, so it's less fluid than DDO is. It's also a little more cartoony. I played a great sword fighter, and he does a whirlwind attack, but instead of just spinning around with his sword, he spins around like a tornado with big swirly graphics, and he kind of exactly like that, and he vanishes, and then there's just damage numbers flying all over the screen. So it's more cartoony, the way the characters act. It feels half Roger Rabbit, half D&D. I don't know. It's a little less grounded, right? Not that you should say that DDO is free of anything remotely like that. It's got some ridiculous stuff, but
Jeff still has the basketball thingy on his.
Yes.
What is that again?
That is the March Madness Dretch. Slam
okay,
Duncan.
got it. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't seeing things. I may be sleep deprived, but I just wanted to make sure.
He has been transformed into a strange green thing with an orange eyeball.
Hey, I don't think I could keep that thing off the post. I don't know. I wouldn't want to box it out.
I have some basketball stories about that, but I'll skip that for now. Yeah. So I don't know. Would I play it? Maybe. I was not deeply compelled, and the main reason why is when I play an MMO, most MMOs, I am about building characters and creating new characters and making them work interesting mechanical ways and giving them different personalities. And while in this game I could, you can customize the appearance pretty well, and so I could give my characters any personality I want. They pretty much, you are a great weapon fighter, and that's what you are, and you always carry around a big two-handed sword. You don't switch weapons. You don't pick up other gear. I'm sure you can get different-looking two-handed swords, though I never did. They all look pretty much the same. And you use the same types of armor as every other great weapon fighter does, and you have the same attacks that every other great weapon fighter does. You have a limited number of hotbar things, and you can't have multiple hotbars. So you have to choose which of your many, many powers that you will get that you want a hotbar, and that will make your character play a little bit different. But you're going to look very much the same and have the exact same options, and for me that takes away a big part of what D&D and MMOs for me is about. So I'm not sure I will be compelled to log in and level a character. I might, like I did with Star Wars Galaxies, log in and play through the quests and the story and enjoy that part of it, and then maybe do some, the occasional user-generated content, and that's about it. But I doubt I would play it the same way I would obsessively like I do with DDO. So that's my take on it.
No sorcerer barbarian.
Yeah,
no wizard monk.
No, you're just you are what you roll it. It's weird because you can roll your stats. Like there's a button that says roll your stats, and then you roll, and then it sort of randomly reassigns things. But it always puts your highest one in your primary and your next in your secondary, and you always roll a 16 plus, and they always add up to the same amount. So it's like a point buy system, but you have to keep rolling until you get about the distribution that you would like.
That's weird.
It's just really weird. It's roll your character, but it doesn't matter.
It's 4th edition, isn't it? So
yeah.
I mean,
it's
based on 4th edition. It's not exactly 4th edition because it's totally different. I mean, as far as I can tell, you can't even multi-class. So
and it's not clear if your ability scores make any difference on your character either. You don't know what the con or strength is going to give you. And I get the impression it doesn't matter, there's no requirements. So if I have a 20 strength versus an 18 strength, I don't know what that does. It's supposed to give you more damage and less hit points, but I don't know if it does or not because you don't really get to see that. So, yeah.
I don't know. I played it for a minute or 3 minutes at Gen Con. Mm-hmm. It felt like a console game, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it has a very console
PC
feel.
game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it does. I will say, I played it back then too. It felt a little less console playing it this weekend on my computer. I don't know why. Maybe just because there were more options and there was more wandering around the world or around the big city. I will say, there's some, if you look up in the skybox is really beautiful, and the architecture of the city that you're in of Neverwinter is really gorgeously done. So, there's sort of breathtaking looking vistas sometimes. Pretty cool there.
Is it a free to play?
Yeah, totally free to play. I don't know exactly. It even has astral shards, right? So.
Oh, nice.
So there's a lot of similarities there, and astral diamonds. So and the lore-wise, I didn't notice anything weird. So it feels like a D&D game from that perspective. Just mechanically, there isn't a whole lot of D&D there, any more than a lot of arcadey D&D games that have come out over the years. So we'll see. It's not terrible, but. It's not the same kind of game. It's at least a little different.
The thing I really want to try is the Foundry system, make my own adventures, to see how that happens. And I didn't have a chance to do that this weekend, which I regret.
No. Some people on the forums did. They reported they really liked it. So.
Yeah, it's. I don't think I'm gonna pick it up as a regular thing. It's gonna be I'll give this a try, maybe run a couple quests, and that's it. Because if there's nothing for me to love my character and to be dedicated about my character so then I'm not gonna dive into it as hardcore. Well,
if nothing else, it massively believes that we can thank Neverwinter Nights for the fact that we have another expansion pack coming this summer. So
maybe.
So maybe it's been a favor to the DDO community regardless.
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, I mean, usually competition can't but help in a way, unless it blows you out of the water. But then again, let's say if Neverwinter came out and it blew DDO out of the water, you know what would happen? I'd go play Neverwinter because ultimately I play whatever games I enjoy most. So I'm not loyal just for the sake of loyalty or anything. But I don't think that's going to be the case. So we shall
Shocked
see.
face.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, well, the thing is just there are many marketing people around the world, and they look at the DDO game, and they're like, it's a niche game. And so we don't want to do that. So, oh well.
I'm here because it's Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah, me too.
That's why I came here in the first place, and it's why I'm still here 7 years later.
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't know, I mean, if you reskin the game, if Neverwinter, if you would know it was D&D if they didn't tell you it was. It's hard to say.
Yeah. Well, they don't have dice numbers. They don't even have the W, on the weapons. The weapon damage factors. So
Oh, just a DPS number?
Yeah, you
no,
just get
yeah,
it.
just
This
a
does
DPS
20 through
number.
32 damage, and the damage numbers don't look like they really bear any relation. I played 4th edition. They're not 4th edition numbers. They're just some
no, not
MMO
even
numbers
the
that
spells.
they've
The
come
spells
up with.
are not even 4th edition. What you would read about it.
No.
No, nothing.
Yeah. But the lore is the same. So if D&D to you is just the world, then I think you probably won't have any problem with it. If D&D to you is the crunchy stuff, yeah, you'll be a little disappointed by it.
Okay.
I would like to say that it is a far, far cry from the original Neverwinter and even Neverwinter Nights 2.
If you're a fan of those games, I don't see.
Do not expect the same thing, because they aren't.
No.
If you love Neverwinter Nights and you love Neverwinter Nights 2, then you're going to be disappointed when you try Neverwinter the MMO, because they are not the same.
Indeed. Cool. Okay, well, I think in a way that's going to be it for today's show. We're going to play Steiner Davian's interview at PAX East, which is pretty cool. It's pretty long, so it's going to go on for 20-some minutes. We're all going to go get something to drink.
37 minutes.
In just case he's gonna part ways with us here for the evening. So we're
Are you
going to play
gonna
that.
part ways, Jeff?
I'm going to part ways, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, you want to go to bed.
A bed awaits me with a hot gamer girl in it.
Well, we don't want to keep you from that.
Aw.
But
No
for those of
details,
you who
but-
don't have that option, you can listen to Steiner Davian. But he's got some good stuff from PAX East and at the party, and it's just kind of a good time to listen. So we're going to go out with that and end the show by listening to Steiner D.
Night, guys. Thanks.
Night, Jeff.
Greetings, DDOcast. This is Steiner Davian here at PAX East 2013 here in Boston at the Turbine Player Appreciation Party. It was an awesome party, lots of awesome swag. Unfortunately, I don't have a lifetime subscription to give one of you lucky people. It was definitely rigged and not my favor. So anyway, I'm sitting here with Tolero, Glenn, Bargwheel, Melange,
Read our badges.
and Eric Heel. And Jerry's around here somewhere, but I think he's having too much fun at this party. Anyway, before I start asking a bunch of questions, I was just wondering if anything else you guys could tease us with about the possible future
All right, so here's
this summer.
In the very near future, you're going to hear a bunch of really drunk developers answering questions for DDOcast, probably within the next 60 seconds. So just keep in mind, most of us at this table have had multiple Shadowfell drinks. It's like a version of Purple Rain that we made special for the party. So yeah, we'll see what kind of answers come out as a result.
Awesome. Sounds good. So the first group of questions I have here for you is, one, why don't we have gnomes yet? Because I personally want to play with Gnome Barbarian, and other people want to play Tieflings and Clashtar and Shifters and all those other cool races like that that are pretty unique to Eberron, but also in some form or fashion in Forgotten Realms.
I think that gnomes just remind us of our children too much.
So, we have seen a lot of posts on the forum about gnomes. It's quite an active topic. Well, not only about half of them are, oh my god, please never ever do gnomes ever.
So, with any race, class, weird gnomey things, it's a matter of time, right? Like D&D is about cool races, cool classes, so we always have material to draw from. We don't have a timetable. So what most people are asking is not so necessarily why don't we have X, it's when am I going to get X? And so that's going to come down to timing, right? We have to do what's right for what content, what stories we're telling at the time. I like how you're gesturing, right?
Talk over you.
I know, right? When Ericule feels like it, he's like sitting there with his keyboard and he's like, shh, I'm not going to do any gnomes today. Shh, no gnomes for you.
I got nothing to do with gnomes.
Yep.
All on my friend.
So just to stir the pot then, we'll see them in update 18.
Update 18 for gnomes.
You heard it here first, folks. That's what Clara just...
And that was a question.
That was a question.
We will be adding thousands of invisible gnomes.
Well, they are illusionists, so it makes sense.
Riding owlbears.
That's where Tasty Ham came from.
So every owlbear you see in the game, there's an invisible gnome riding
At
it.
just the right spot in Cargen, you will get a gnome.
Yeah, it's
But you got to find
the
the
one
spot.
pixel spot.
And it moves. Very
And it moves every time you log in.
Good luck.
Okay.
Every time you play.
Yeah.
I think this should have been an interview for DDO Cocktail Hour, not DDOcast.
I tried to warn you. We've been having all the cocktails in honor of DDO Cocktail.
Environmentally, yes, that's true.
All right, so what about individual player housing? We have guild housing, but I know lots of people who would love to have a house with individual characters where they can hang up their obsolete raid loot.
You know you can make a guild of one, right?
Yes, but with a guild of one, I can't put anything on my guild airship because it's not big enough.
Not working hard enough.
Yeah, we love these ideas. I'm hoping we pay attention to guilds over the next year more than we have in the last year, and the player housing, individual housing, or expanding what we do with guilds is definitely something we have a lot of design discussions on, and it's more realistic than gnomes.
Okay. So just to follow up, let me ask a bit of a follow-up question here then.
Rooms in houses.
No gardens, okay.
Axe houses.
Oh,
If Lord of the Rings Online is based upon a similar engine, if not the same core, why not just steal the code from there?
Well, we always go with...
Sounds like an engineering question.
Yeah, it's really more of an engineering question.
Let the engineer talk. He never gets questioned.
Don't you get to talk enough? So, yeah, I mean...
We really should have.
And this is what happens when you start to pour the drink.
Yeah. All right. So serious engineering question.
Right.
Go.
Serious engineering. So our games are similar at the core level, but all of the game systems are dramatically different. And our housing implementation is completely different from Lotros and is not compatible at all. So pulling over player housing, not going to happen. It just can't happen.
Well, if it's non-existent in DDO,
Heard the question right, and didn't completely fold it up by the fact that I had 4 drinks.
I don't think you flipped the question, no.
Okay, good. It's basically sure because that look on your face was telling me that I didn't answer the right question. If we added player housing, we would basically remake it from scratch. Yeah, it's unlike steal it from Lotro.
Yeah, it's not like a PS2 game that you're putting on your PS3. It doesn't quite work that way. It's more like trying to take your PS3 game and put it on your PS2 and then cry.
Okay, that makes sense on some level.
I didn't do this right. Go fine.
It's the birthing of death.
What about accessing our guild airships directly from Evening Star or other parts of the Forgotten Realms instead of having just to run into the cave and take the demon web to the airship?
I don't think we'll cross the lure. I think that the Twinkie effect comes into play when we try to do that.
What about the Twinkie?
But didn't it happen with Warforged?
Well, that's a little different though, because the stories of the Warforged are kind of pouring out of the portal coming over. Unless your boat is cramming its way through the portal, not quite the same.
Why not? Because it's Elminster. He can do anything.
You have to fly into Kyber first, through really narrow tunnels filled with lava, spiders, and drow, and then get all the way to the final chamber. It's kind of a tight squeeze.
Oh, that's fair enough.
So I think we'll find something that that makes sense at some point. But I will say that there is a seed planted that I found exploring the Underdark. There is a particular line that you'll find in one of the journals that talks about interrogating one of the foreigners about these elementals used for flying ships. So I don't know. Maybe we're waiting for the Drow to invent them in Forgotten Realms.
Okay. Well,
It's interesting because they're underground, so why do they need to fly?
I don't know why they want that technology.
well, they do want to conquer the surface.
That's
right. Yeah, so
to the surface above
And beyond.
so I'm gonna let the story unfold.
Okay, so there's a possible future for airships in Forgotten Realms,
Or at least
but
underground airships.
or lore issues aside, though, then why not have another form of guild housing in the Forgotten Realms?
Yeah, we'll be exploring a solution.
Okay, cool.
Obviously, that's a big challenge for us because we have to have Forgotten Realms and Eberron. You have to have things that make sense for the lore. But B, you have to have conveniences for players if they're playing on one side of the campaign or the other. So it's like trying to walk this fine line all the time of finding lore excuses for one thing to exist in one place versus the other. So it's something we have to work out as we go.
Okay.
But we are definitely thinking about it.
Yeah.
It is a hassle. You burn off at least 2-3 minutes going from your airship all the way to the harbor, all the way through like 3 or 4 instances.
It's like going
Meanwhile, it's burning your clock while you're waiting
It's
for the
like
load
trying to
screens.
leave the 12.
Exactly. All right. So what about a Forgotten Realms starter area as opposed to...
So here's the thing about a starter area. If we start you in a starter area, where do you go after that? You don't go anywhere.
More
There's
levels.
No quests. So
Well, that's the whole point. More low-level quests so you can start fresh in a new world.
Yeah, it only took us 5 years to get what we have now.
A whole new set of level 1 to 15 content or more is what we need to support that, and that is a massive amount of work.
So currently we're kind of working from the top down. We've gotten you guys across the border with your higher level characters, and you notice we have like level 20 quests, level 17 quests, level 15 quests, and lots of options, right? So it is going to take time if we're ever going to get there.
So to follow up a conversation I had with Glenn earlier in the evening, in about 48 years or so, we'll see level 1 quests in Forgotten Realms.
In 48 years, who knows which realm we'll be in at that
The context of that is what's the definition of a lifetime subscription? Yeah, that's right. In somebody's lifetime, we'll have lower level quests.
But if you remember the cadence we did with Eberron content, right? Back in the day, we were like kind of bringing people up, and then we dug down, because who wants to run the same chain 20 bazillion times in like levels like, 10 to 12? So it's not just making quests in the level range, you have to have enough quests that people have variety in those levels. So it takes time to fill all that range out.
Okay. So here's a more serious question, and maybe it's philosophical in that sense too.
On table 4, but yes.
philosophical.
Anything more philosophical.
Make it philosophical.
This question is probably more aimed at Glenn than anybody else here at the table. Unfortunately, sorry guys. What role do you see in paid expansion packs like Menace and the Underdark and the soon-to-be released Shadowfell Conspiracy playing in the game, and how is it really different than the regular content updates that are free to VIPs?
Yeah, well, we take an expansion pack to the level where we'll have game-changing things happen. So it's an excuse for us to do something like, so maybe we want to expand skills, for example. It lets us do the level cap at a larger scale than we would have. So an expansion pack is just, it's multiple long-term releases condensed into one release. That's kind of what fits the definition for the expansion. But we're following the model that we did with Menace to the Underdark. We're taking the game to the next level. We're making some significant changes. We want to have good reasons for people to come back and check out their characters again, see how things have changed, see what's been refreshed, see what things we've reacted to that players have been asking for. So we expect big changes with the expansion pack.
Okay, so I think in your birthday letter / state of the game address, whatever you want to call it, depending on where, stick with the birthday. We're getting 2 new quest packs equivalent, plus level 28, and these heroic or iconic heroes. Is there anything else that I'm missing or that you can tell us about? Oh, owlbears, obviously.
Yeah, besides owlbears. That's what really matters, owlbears.
Yep, owlbears.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of which, there was a monster that was noticeably absent here tonight.
I know. That's my fault. My owlbear went on vacation, so like he was supposed to be here. He was supposed to have my back, and he was gonna be all like yoo-hoo, but he wasn't. So it's just me, as in the sad without my owlbear.
Because you know it's not a party until there's an owlbear on loose.
Sorry. No.
Particularly a drunken owlbear.
Drunken owlbear would know.
If the owlbear's going to be in this expansion, he's definitely not at least 21 or older, and is not allowed to
Yeah,
enter.
exactly. Yeah. See, he was under level for the Jillian's door security.
Well, we could have put him in a box or something.
Maybe.
Anyway.
Stuffed
They're
owlbears.
trying to put an owlbear in a box.
They don't like it.
They don't.
So, yeah, we've got basically those 3 highlights. We are still working on the design and iteration of a lot of things, so we haven't talked about many more details because so many things are subject to change after we've taken an internal review of those things. So, but that's the things we are committing to. The iconic heroes are going to be rolled out in a little more detail over the coming months into spring, including an early look at one of them, which will be a good example of what's to come for the following. And I will say at this point we're looking at doing 4. If that fits, that we can feel really comfortable about those 4 iconic heroes being completed, then that's the track we're on right now.
Could you tell us which of those heroic or iconic heroes we may be able to get the early preview on here in the near future, soon trademark?
Oh, I think we should like pick a letter, one letter out of the phrase. Doesn't have to be the first letter. It's like we're gonna give you the letter that will appear in the name of the iconic.
How about an A?
A, yes.
A.
It will have an A in its name.
Oh wait, the first one?
No, any.
Oh, any of them.
Any.
Yeah.
4 letters?
No, just 4.
4? Okay.
4.
4, okay. I like that. 4, that's your clue. Go for it! Solve
4.
the puzzle.
Okay.
That's pretty lame.
Someone will solve it.
Someone will solve it, I'm sure. For sure.
We will let anyone who solves it buy us a drink.
Yep.
And I'm going out on a limb here. I'm going to say that when you finally do tell us that we're getting a dual-wielding Drow Tempest, it's going to be modeled after Dritz, and it's going to be that iconic hero. Is that correct?
His name will be It's like Dritz, but spelled backwards and incorrectly.
It's really nothing like Dritz.
That is the concept. That is the concept of the iconic hero. I mean, we're DDO, so we want you to be able to create cool, unique builds that take a little bit of gameplay challenge, a little bit of experimentation, and ultimately we think that it's something that's fun. That's the high level goal. So start out with what do we think is going to be fun? What do we think players can actually do something with? But the iconic heroes is something that has a story to it. It has some roots set in something, and we're starting people at level 15 because it gives them access to where we are currently with our new player experience in Forgotten Realms, and that's as low as we are now on that. But also with things that we've been doing with us, the temporary releases of the Stone of Experience. That's kind of that mid-game level that we're at right now with DDO after 7 years. So the iconics are coming in that zone, but I still think they're going to be very customizable. So ultimately, it'll be something new for players to build on.
Okay. That being said, then why not a bet status 3 that starts you at level 15 or so, or is that what the Stone of XP is?
I was gonna say, I think we call that the autos box.
Yeah, honestly, it's it's a little more freeing to use the cinema experience. It's a little better for the TR folks, for example. We'll still explore that system a little bit in addition to Iconics. We're talking about some things that will help players that are just in that sort of zone for gameplay now as well. We recognize there's more than one end game in DDO right now, and so we're trying to cater to all of those things as best we can.
Awesome. What do you guys have any plans for future expansions of personal inventory and storage space?
Well, inventory space is a particular challenge because you have to be careful of the number of players that we have and the amount of database space that we can consume on a per player basis. Given the fact that we have to keep these characters around forever, no character ever gets deleted. So we have to balance that with the cost of it. It's certainly possible that we can expand it a little bit further. We just have to take a look at where our database capacity is, where we can grow it to, and whether or not it's feasible to be able to, well, frankly, to be not to put too fine a point on it, but to be able to charge enough for it to make it worthwhile for us.
Okay, thanks.
Do you ask engineering questions sometimes?
Sometimes we do.
That's why I brought the engineer, right? He knows these things.
He's willing to answer.
Yeah.
And he's drunk enough.
This next question comes from Ellie Cat, and they want to know why we can't get a gender change option when we TR.
I'm sorry, I don't think I'm in a condition to answer that question.
Are we talking gender bias here? Or?
I mean, we can change our hair colors.
Character. Yes.
I'd love to be able to TR myself sometimes, but that's not going to happen. I mean, we do have appearance changes that we can make ourselves, with the hair dyes and stuff like that. There's some cosmetic stuff. We can change our race. We can change our classes. But sometimes, I know a lot of people, myself included, it seems to be random as to which race or which gender you are when you go to character creation. Sometimes you forget to press the button, and you're stuck.
That's like my first thing. I'm like, oh man, am I going to make a male character this time or a female character this time?
Especially if you make a
I can
Warforged.
figure out what class and race I'm going to be.
Especially if you make a Warforged, you can't tell, so I don't know if that
Oh, I always pick female because they make different noises when you fight.
Oh, do they?
Yeah, if you
I haven't
listen
noticed.
in combat when a Warforged is fighting, you can hear whether it's male or female personality. Because in the lore, they're actually, even though they have no specific gender anatomically, they do have male or female persona, so they actually choose whether they identify a gender or not.
So
That was really a geeky answer. So meanwhile, in the game, but it's the truth, right? That's the lore.
So in game, I need to pay attention to Warforged when they go, ew, don't touch me.
Yes. Well, the female ones go, and then the guy ones go,
Right. No means no.
Wait, no means yes. What?
Okay, gender
Yeah.
change.
So what about gender change options for TRing or whatever?
It has gender TRY.
There is a no kin has gender TRY. There's we need to take the time to make gender TR sometime.
So get this.
You have to reincarnate to do it. There is nothing that we can say. We can't give you an item like we can for alignment cones, which says, boom, your new alignment. Or boom, you have this new hairstyle. You literally will have to reincarnate to do it because it completely changes the underlying entity that your character is made up of. So a cursed item like a belt or something like that wouldn't work because your gender is baked into your basic, your most fundamental piece of the object in the world that is you.
It's kind of weird. Like all the quest givers, you might not notice it, but they actually tend to know what gender you are when you're talking to them. So we have to be careful of what other parts of the game know what gender you are before we go switching it, and then it getting confused and going, I can't talk to you anymore because you are weird now to me. And I don't function when I don't understand what happened to you.
I think you're a totally different person now.
Yeah, like, oh, you're not really a character anymore. We just have to explore every place where that could touch.
There were some decisions made back when reincarnation was built to lock in certain things. Those are things that we can open up again after the things evolve. It changes a little bit, and that's absolutely some of the things we've talked about. I just don't have any real solid timelines on if we would put the priority on those changes.
So I think to go back to the Tolero's Breakfast with Jeff series last week, maybe.
Yeah, it's
some point in the future, whatever the call it was.
Yeah. You guys look so intense. I know we're wicked intense out here. So intense. We're answering questions. Look, the answer that they tell you. If you're drunk enough, you can sit down and answer questions. I want you to know that. They're all
I'm having a blast. This is a great interview.
Oh, we're blasted, all right.
That's why it's a great interview.
Yes.
Give it a hoot.
Give it a hoot.
For those who are curious, that is Gazebo that just walked over.
What? And then just leave. Mic drop. Yeah, just do it on air right now.
Yeah.
Did it right there.
New bug system.
Let's get to that.
Let's talk about the new bug system.
It actually,
Lean in.
it just hit Warnland. We just posted our first links to it. We hope to have it up and running sometime in the next month. It's going to be just like the CS ticket system, basically. So if you've ever filed a ticket with the GM asking for help, well, you'll be very familiar with it.
So in other words, we're going to get, sorry, we can't help you like, for everything.
Oh,
You're assuming I'm going to respond to you.
Oh, touche.
No, in all seriousness, the new system is amazing. Like, whereas before we were trying to handle, like, we could process maybe hundreds of bugs a day and not in a very orderly fashion, we'll be able to do thousands in minutes.
Okay, so you're going to do the same thing they do with the GMs. They just close tickets. I'm just kidding.
No.
Like, we can actually get aggregation of what's going
it's
on.
going to allow us to sort and filter things so that we actually have an ability to categorize, look at, and better respond to what's going on. I mean, we're not going to be able to do perfect hands-on with it, but it will allow our entire QA team access to our bug system in a much cleaner fashion, and it'll allow for better categorization, tracking, and maintaining the status of bugs.
So if we have an issue that's driving, say, let's say that we get like 3,000 reports of X bug. Before we would literally have to go through and look through all 3,000 of each bug report. Now we'll be able to go, wham, here's 3,000 of this topic, and then if we need more details, then come down in it. But we say, oh look, 3,000 of this bug. Bam, escalate that one.
Yeah.
And I'm also hoping to take advantage of some of the features in the Lamania environment where we can get feedback through polling surveys from players on features. So we'd be able to react to things a little faster than we would by waiting for that feedback to come to us while we're trying to get things out to live. Maybe get things we can act on prior to shipping new features.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Does that mean you might be able to expand the base of your surveys? I know in 7 years I've never gotten any kind of surveys, and I realize that you guys probably send them out randomly. But
Yeah, the surveys they send out that you've heard about tend to be more focus group styled, and they do. Oh, hold on. But they tend to do survey pools of random samples of focus groups, whereas what this would be is specifically targeting playtesters as they're testing. So if you're playing in the system, hey, what do you think of it right now?
It'll be pushed
would it be like a pop-up in-game kind of thing?
We would have to build that in for specific things. So there's an engineering effort to do that type of thing. But this system will allow us to build that in.
So like if to step back in time a little bit, if you had this system in place when Kenneth crafting was introduced, you'd be crafting away on Lamania, and then you might get a pop-up that says, answer a bunch of questions on it.
Yeah, or we could add in in the beta environment, we could add in a button that says, go participate in the survey, something like that.
Okay, cool. I can see how that would make things a lot easier and much more useful.
The goal is read all the things.
Did engineering just get signed up for a whole mess load of work that I
That's
didn't
right.
Yeah.
It sounds like it, but isn't that your job?
Yeah.
Thanks, engineering.
We love you.
Don't worry, Mark. I'll be able to yell at you in a much more constant.
All the yelling will be nicely sorted in Excel spreadsheets with graphs.
I actually have data to back you up.
Yes.
So, to move on here, our next question comes from Dark40, and he wants to know if we ever see the Angel and Archon side of Shabarath. Okay, I got this one. Maybe. No. In other words, soon.
Maybe TM.
Yeah, TM.
We're always trying to think of different places we can take our game. It's, it's definitely a place we've talked about, but it's just a matter of when is the time right for it.
Right now, we're pretty focused on getting more content into Forgotten Realms so that it's comparably content-filled as Eberron, because we can't have, like, come to Forgotten Realms and play all 7 quests and then go back to Eberron. And we need, like, quests in both places.
Makes sense. I guess I can't argue with that too much.
But at the same time, I think, we demonstrated this year that even though we're focusing on Forgotten Realms for new content, we're still giving attention to Eberron and the storylines there. So
I think you guys might have had a meeting on your hands if Epic Giant Hole did not come out.
yeah, absolutely.
And wasn't it awesome?
It was awesome. Now I just need my Epic Jeweled cloak and I'd be all set.
Yeah, it still is
It
awesome.
still is awesome.
Thank
You can go do it right now.
So here's a question that's probably been around for, 7 years or so. Maybe a little bit longer in one fashion or another.
Redacted.
All right, next question. So Salmeg wants to know, now that we have Druid and Artificer pets, will Rangers get their companions, Wizards get their familiars, Paladins get their war horses, and things like that?
Okay, horses, like, we haven't even gotten anybody horses. Even NPCs don't have horses, one step at a time.
And you got mounted combat in your other game. I mean,
Why do you need horses? You got magic.
where would you ride the horse anyway?
I don't know.
So we have talked about giving Rangers pets similar to Druids, and some of that is a matter of time, and also getting the design right, because it turns out if the pen and paper version of Ranger pets, if we directly translated that to DDO, the Ranger pets would be very weak. And so we wouldn't want to do with direct translation in this case, because basically you might use them at level 1 and then they'd be like, this pet just dies. Right? So we want to put more work into it. We have talked about familiars, but it's not really the exact same thing, and so basically we would have to work up a new system and a new design where, again, pen and paper, talking telepathically to your pet doesn't exactly fit DDO perfectly. So that would, again, be more design work, and then we'd have to make engineering do a lot more work to actually make it happen.
So basically...
Yeah, I play a wizard, so that might be okay with me.
I was going to say, so basically the answer is Mark said no.
I didn't say no.
Yeah, see,
I play a wizard. I mean, so
At least you have cosmetic pets for now. You can pretend that you're familiar.
There's that.
So I just heard confirmation then that wizards aren't getting familiar. Dude.
We heard that someone is familiar with a wizard.
Oh, is that what he said? My bad.
Yeah, sorry. I misheard.
Just a couple more here, I think. Can you provide us any more details on what the level 28 level increase entails?
Yep. Sorry, that was my Lana voice.
Redacted.
Soon. With all the details about all the expansioniness will be soon.
We won't get that one more feat though, right? Soon.
Maybe TM.
Maybe TM. Oh, did we do them all?
Wow, I think that's just about it. I mean, I think that's about it. Is there anything else you guys want to add? Go around the table?
I mean, let's start on the left.
No, start on the other side.
Oh, that's right.
All right, we'll start on the other side with
We want to
Margil.
Hey, stole mine! Dang it! I had to think of a different one.
Yes, we're fixing lag.
Oh, yeah, that's the...
Oh, yeah.
I didn't do the lag question.
So,
That was the answer. Moving on.
can you elaborate on things you've done in the past to help fix lag that we might not have talked about previously?
Lag is the nine-headed hydra, right? I mean, it's got tons and tons and tons of reasons why it exists. To give an example, we had a long-standing mistake in code that was amplified by something that we had recently done to send messages to the server over and over and over again, but it was sending thousands more than it should have been, which caused the server to back up on messages, which caused everything to slow down, thus lag. Once we fixed that, so that it was no longer sending the excessive messages that it needed to do, you saw a massive dramatic drop in lag. But it's not the only thing that causes lag. There's not one answer to lag. There will always be lag, and it's a constant battle trying to fix it.
It's like disease. You can't cure all disease. You have to battle each one.
I don't know. I'm pretty sure Elminster can cure all disease.
So the change to melee combat was really just a smokescreen then. Just kidding.
There's also a challenge that it's not always server. It could be a client performance issue that we're seeing, multiple people report.
Right. Yeah, you'd be amazed the number of people that don't. So we know that the client data can get defragmented over time, and I don't just mean like, your computer defrag. I mean, literally, DDO itself needs a defrag. Now, the trick is, the way you do that right now is a fresh install. But not a lot of people bother to do a fresh install, because if you're just playing the game and you're running along fine, it can be years, so you're chugging along playing DDO, and then you go one day, oh yeah, I am still using my original install from my 2006 Stormreach box. And yeah, your client is probably horribly fragmented and needs to be reinstalled, but yet you're trucking along, not realizing it. You could be fixing your own problem by reinstalling, but obviously reinstalling is a process because it's a big game, it's a long download, not everybody wants to do that.
It only took me about 45 minutes last week to re-download it.
Yeah. So,
but then again, I got FiOS.
So there's things that we can do on our end, there's things that players can do on their end, and it's not...
This interview is sponsored by Verizon.
It is, well.
Yes,
Glenn, do you have anything else you want to add?
Yeah, I would love to spill out details on some of the things we're doing for this XPAC.
What do you want?
And I will over time.
So over time means that you just go to the bar right afterwards.
That's right. Yeah, over time, over 4 more drinks at the bar. Good night. Thank you. So it really is just to stay tuned, and the reason that we've only put out what we have is that we're still making changes, and we're pretty confident about the direction that we said we're going, and I think that from there we've gotten a little bit of feedback, first reactions, speculation, and we're watching that too to help guide us with our internal discussions. So those discussions that people are having are important to us, and we are monitoring that. And Tulare and the community team are a huge part of aggregating that information to us to help us design what we're going to do for our next XPAC. And we're feeling pretty confident. We've learned a lot about the last one as well, what players were asking for, what they were disappointed in, and trying to react to those things as well.
Cool, thanks. Clara?
Let's see. Thanks everybody for listening. Thanks everybody for coming out to the party. And I'm just hoping that everyone loves all the owl bears. Because I'm like way too gone to say anything really productive right now. So when the owl bears get here, right, the long mystery of where all the pelts come from in Eberron will be revealed. Because there's always owlbear pelts in Eberron, but there's no owlbears.
So they're coming from the Forgotten Realms?
Yes, that was lost devious plan. Rip the chair in the world so that the owlbears can repopulate and become the indigenous species of Eberron they were always meant to be.
So that's why she's trying to invade, because they killed off all the owlbears on Eberron.
I hunted them for their pelts. Thank you.
And really, that's all because someone already said Gerhut. So that's what
I'm a jerk.
Color and hair.
All right. Well, do you have anything else you want to add?
I just want to say, those of us in DDO content are really excited about a lot of the stuff that's going to be coming out in the expansion. I really hope that you all have a really good time when it all comes out.
Oh, I have one more thing. I've been doing work on enhancements. That's it. Can you elaborate on that? Will they let you elaborate on it?
Redacted.
All the enhancements. That should be a verb now, enhancementing.
I think that's called enhancing.
No, because enhancing is when you actually take the enhancements. Enhancement-ing is when you're making things.
This is
you're enhancement-ing.
It's like epifying.
Yeah, it's like epifying.
I said do some of that too. So.
Is that pre-motu epifying or is that post-motu epifying?
Yes, that's the difference.
we are trying to come up with a plan that lets so we won't be in update 18, the new enhancement system, but we are trying to get it in front of players before update 18. And then we will rip it out, process that feedback, go out with U18, and then start working on reacting to that feedback.
I like
so we're gonna
how
take
you
some
say
time.
that because they don't know when that is.
Right.
It's soon. No, can we narrow the window of soon down?
We have a
to
pretty
like a 2-week window.
we have a pretty regular cadence of releases. We're gonna stay within that cycle. Yeah.
definitely before next.
So sometime between now and when law takes over.
It's yeah. Well, no, for the enhancements, the sneak preview, if we want to call it that. I don't know if we have a good name for it. I don't know if we're calling it a beta yet, so I'm calling it a sneak preview. Maybe it's an alpha. Maybe it's a public alpha.
But then it doesn't like go out. Because like, okay, here's the confusing part that some people will need to get used to. Normally we put stuff on the Mania, and the very next update it shows up. This time we're going to put stuff on the Mania, and it's going to stay there. And then we're going to put it on the Mania again, because we need a lot longer time to go through this, because it's a big, big system.
So maybe instead of an alpha, we'll just call it an alpha.
It's an alpha bear.
An alpha bear.
That'll be a spring thing. It'll be the spring, and that's coming up.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, thank you very much, guys. I really appreciate you taking the time out of this awesome party. And I guess we closed the bar now, so thanks again, and keep up all the great work. We really appreciate it. And as long as you keep making a great game, people like me will continue to play such a great game. Thanks.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Thanks for the sobering questions.
Cheers.